2016, Rodrigo Duterte legalized the online gambling industry, and POGOs became the country's fastest growing sector, employing at their peak some 500,000 people, 1/3 of them estimated to be Chinese. And they raked in $120 million every year for the Philippine economy. Professor Rabena, let me come to you first. So can you tell us how they became these hubs for Chinese crime?
Yeah, so this started during the time of former President Duterte. They believed that if they allowed POGOs to operate in the Philippines, it will generate new income streams for the government. Well, actually,
quite a lot of money, right?
Right. So they contributed gross gaming revenues, and they patronized Philippine goods and services and things like that. But as time went by, more criminal activities have been found to involve both legal and illegal POGOs. And these criminalities are prostitution, kidnap for ransom, illegal detention, torture, you name it. So the public has been very keen on this, and it doesn't reflect well on the Philippines. It's actually incurred a lot of reputational costs already for the country because of all of these things.
Do you think that the government was slow to act on the POGOs?
Yeah, so during the time of President Duterte to now, I would say that it took a while, okay? And it took President Marcos to order the prohibition of it. So now finally, I think President Marcos has taken the radical solution to finally put an end to all the social ills, because it's also right now impacting the Philippines' political system and institutions, and that's not good when we want to preserve the Philippines' political integrity.
So, Professor Chen, is this linked also to the cyber fraud scams that we know come out of Cambodia and Myanmar and Laos?
Well, there are several similar cases that maybe these kind of operators, they have illicit agreement with the local government. So there's a vacuum, power vacuum, and also the judicial vacuum. So the local government do not take any actions on these criminal actions. So they become a hub for this kind of scam and also a lot of criminal activities. And furthermore, I think now people concerned that there's an influx of the finance and also a lot of capitals, and there's a lot of money laundering activities. And also these operators, these companies, they may use these fundings to buy more influence on politics and also different branches of the government. So there is a very serious concern on the bribery cases in various levels of the government. So I think that's why the Filipino government has to do something against these activities.
And Professor Rabena also mentioned, the political issues. Perhaps unsurprisingly, POGOs have become, the focus of this anti-China sentiment. Can you tell us how pervasive that is in Philippine society?
Yeah, so right now in the Philippines, because this POGO issue is coinciding with the rising tensions and hostilities in the South China Sea. So by default, Filipinos, the Philippine public believes that anything Chinese is sanctioned by the Chinese government. Okay, so they believe that China is sponsoring all these POGOs and things like that.
And are they?
Well, actually, interestingly, the Chinese government has also told the Philippine government to finally ban this, because it's also creating social tensions and instability in China. So that's why this has become some sort of a convergence point somehow between Manila and Beijing.
A convergence point, Professor Chen. So, whilst essentially sparring in the West Philippine or South China Sea, this is actually an area where, the two perhaps are in agreement and can work together?
Well, I think for the Beijing side, they have several motivations to do this, to praise or to agree on to tackle with these POGOs. But firstly, China has an incentive to change its image in Philippines and also other countries, because China is now showing its aggression in the South China Sea issues with Philippines and other neighboring countries. So China wants to just change its image to maybe to have a better image on maybe come back with the criminal activities. And also, a lot of the victims of these criminal syndicates are Chinese people. So these companies are run by Chinese people, and then a lot of the murders and the kidnapping is on the Chinese citizens.
Right.
So the Chinese government do have incentive to stop all of this.
Yes, and I understand actually that it was China that banned gambling from China, and that's why, in a sense, the problem has then transferred to countries in Southeast Asia like the Philippines, Professor. And how would you characterize, the problems associated with these POGOs yourself? How would you characterize them?
So we have a senator, Senator Gatchalian, who likened this model to the narco-politics. But this time it's POGO politics. So the POGO syndicates, they field their personnel, their candidates, and then they fund their elections, perhaps, as Professor mentioned a while ago, so they can buy a lot of influence. And that is perhaps one of the reasons why this very interesting figure, former Mayor Alice Go, got elected into office. She has the support of the POGO industry.